Greetings, everybody. It's been a very long time since I've posted a video. I know that much, but I've been busy, college and all of that, and there have been complaints about my mic equipment and all that. And there you go, better mic equipment, new laptop, better sound quality overall, hopefully, and hopefully I can still use my whispery voice and still get the ideas across. So, today I'm gonna talk about a certain idea that I've been playing with lately, which is data versus freedom. Usually they use data versus privacy, right? The way they do it is the businesses are acquiring data and using them to advertise for you, and that can also be used to determine who you are, what you like, and figure out what type of person you are even better than yourself or people who know you a lot. And it comes from Facebook browsing habits, YouTube, all that stuff. Data mining, basically organizing the data in such a way that that people essentially can figure out who you are basically from the data you've presented on the internet. And a lot of people are kind of against that, saying that privacy is more important than data, all of this comfort that you get from the data collection, including advertising recommendations, and if you need something you'll find it and all that good stuff. A lot of people are creeped out by it, and the more conspiracy oriented people are always they're always very against this idea. But I don't want to present this. I don't want to present the data versus privacy argument. I'd rather present the data versus freedom. What do I mean by this? Generally, when it comes to data collection, people want their privacy because usually it gives them a sense of control over their lives, because you don't know certain details about me and I only show you what I let you see. That is generally good, and while I'm not for or against that, I'm more within the camp of practicality. So if people get freedom to do things they please and all of that stuff, to do as they want, the data becomes kind of useless. That's why I want to make this dichotomy. I'm studying civil engineering, and one of the subjects we took was traffic, right? Traffic engineering, and how to manipulate traffic and organize it. And one of the things that allows us to analyze the data properly is the fact that there are rules that we go by, and there are certain laws that we abide to or abide by. And generally, when you go to study a certain road network to find out what's wrong with it, you look at the data, right? You look at okay, what can we do with this, what can we do with that, and after you do your analysis, what can we introduce on the road or on the rules that would improve the congestion or improve the traffic in general. And it's not a very complicated problem. It's been done, tried and true. Why? Because the data is consistent. However, if you put freedom on the road, i.e., people are free to go about as they please on the road, you start finding out that very simply there is no way to govern it and no way to control it or produce certain results that you need the road to do, right? So let's say everybody takes a left turn or a right turn as they please. That will slow down the road or speed it up depending on the place. And you cannot control for it unless you introduce certain rules, regulations, and stuff like that. And I heard the argument that no, if you let the road go on its own and have people figure out their own rules or their own, as I call it, social norms or social agreeable standards or something to that effect, that the road would fix its congestion problems by nature. There will a sense of balance will be found if you give people the freedom to do that. And sadly, I cannot agree with that, because from the studying of the from the studying I did and from the observation I did, maybe it works in some societies, certain, especially if they're smaller scale, like think everybody knows each other. Yeah, we can agree on certain rules, but right now the world is just growing too big to the point where the people on the road do not know each other, nor do they have any sense of familiarity with the other person. Maybe you guys like live in the same block, right? But you don't know each other. You never saw each other. You kind of sort of agree that like there are certain things that you can or can't say, but there is nothing governing you, right? So, um, when it comes to people using like the privacy argument instead of the freedom argument, is that um, data does not impose upon your privacy, and if it does, it shouldn't. What does that mean? Is um, if a company is being unethical and steals your data, that's on them. That's a problem. But um, disallowing the collection of data because of that is like is impossible. You can't do it, and the reason you can't do it is because any company who doesn't do it, does not collect data, whether like they ask you for it or don't ask you for it, they will fall behind in the research department and fall behind in these parameters, and eventually they'll either go so small they become irrelevant, or they become a niche on the side that people go to because of that reason, or more importantly, they get extinguished, and the companies that actually do the mining and the analysis, the heavy analysis of the data, get to rise. Like I took a media class. PR is very important, and mainly PR does data collection, heavy data collection, to find out whether certain like PR strategies will work or not. How do you know how to get that data? So if you remove all the abilities to get that data, i.e., you allow people the freedom to go as they please, there will not be any real data analysis, and whatever community that you set on this freedom agenda will slowly fall back, if that makes any sense. I'd like to give an example for that, historical example. Um, when people adopted the musket, the gun, and slowly started developing that, any nation that did not develop this weapon and incorporated it as part of its culture and part of its identity, even these nations are no longer here. Whether they did it by choice or by simple inability. Look at the Native Americans, or the all the indigenous American like tribes. They had no access to modern legislation, organization skills, and just the globalization ability that things like the Spanish Empire and the Great Britain did. Like they had so much over the other people, right? So the people who did not adopt the style of let's say colonialization at that time, and the military technology they adopted, um, those nations are either no longer here or no longer relevant. Another example is I've observed that a lot of major empires followed a certain particular religion and stuck to it, minus India, but that's why India never really united, so I will exclude it. Um, Europe fell under Christendom, while the Middle East and Iran and those places followed Islam, and those spread like a plague, right? Like they took over most of the relevant map, minus China, and China had Confucianism as their main thing, right? Or Buddhism, depending on the place, and those kind of stuck. And the idea of it is um, those things united and stabilized the regions, and no anybody who didn't follow them kind of got wiped out of extinction. Look at up in Lithuania and the Northern Crusades against them, done mostly by the Teutonic Order. Like this, but if you abolish all of this, the people who did not abolish it will gain a huge advantage over you. So the question should be not to abolish it, rather how you can regulate it to fit your own culture and fit your own values, instead of eliminating it out of fear that it will destroy your way of life. Because the people who did not, for example, if you look at back in Roman days, and they were fighting barbarians all over in Spain and France and like all of these places, those guys did not have the cultural edge they had because they did not adopt the ideas of city states and the evolution of city states and high legislation and all of that good stuff, right? Rome was able to eat them based by pure logistics, let alone the strength of their armies and the brilliance of their blacksmiths and equipment and all that, Roman engineering and all that. Like the people who did not follow that trend did not survive to this day. They got their nation wiped out. And you need to understand this when you're saying freedom, freedom, freedom. Those guys screamed freedom too, and they lost. Native Americans screamed freedom, and they lost. Why? Because of superiority of the other people choosing to adopt, choosing the freedom, if you will, to progress and follow the current trends and just go and just increase in their ability to continue with the times, if you will. So that's my argument and assessment of the situation when people tell me privacy versus data. I scratch that and say data versus freedom. And if you choose freedom over data instead of data over freedom, you're gonna fall behind. I'm not telling you it's a bad thing. I'm not telling you it's the right or the wrong thing to do. I'm just telling you what I've seen from reading my books and all of that stuff, right? If like that's how it goes. So yeah, like if anybody has a response, comments, whatever, feel free to write in the comment section. I hope to do more of these, and see you soon. I hope.